Hi, my name is Frankie. Thank you for listening to my mom. I never listen.
Well, this is always a special treat for me because I've known Brenda Frese for a long time, and we don't even want to talk about how many decades we've been friends and uh, colleagues inside the game. But we are friends, and I don't mind saying that because we have been through a lot together as moms and as wives, and watching our careers to grow and develop. So, Brenda, what I want to start with first of all is I know how important family is to you, and I know what Mark and the boys mean to you. So, I want to start there because I think that's an important part of the foundation and the culture of what you've built at Maryland.
Yeah, it really is, and thanks for having me, Debbie. And it's always great, joining you. And we have, as we've come up through the game, and we've been in it a long time, and have been through a lot. But I mean, obviously, it starts with my parents. To have six children, for me, five other siblings, and just how much of a priority it was that. For them, growing up, it was all about their kids. And they instilled, us being able to have each other's backs and through the good times. And even when we get on each other's nerves, we're going to be there. And to kind of watch it go full circle, this was the first Christmas I've been home in 14 years with my dad having some health issues this past Christmas. And my sister came home as well. Everyone was there. And a lot of people talk about it, being a family, but we live it, and we live it not only with who we are, but then it extends to our program. I wouldn't be able to do this job and this career without the village that I have with my staff, my support staff, and our players and their families. So it's definitely something that's really, really important in our culture. It's really important to me. I wouldn't want to be in this job if it didn't have to do with us, really looking out for each other.
I want to talk about your mom and dad, Bill and Donna, because Bill's getting ready to turn 90, and I know he's had some health issues, and everyone in women's basketball is aware because we've all done such a good job of, I think, supporting you and sharing your message about your dad's fight with cancer and how your mom has been an incredible caregiver. But he's going to be 90 on January 22nd. I have that written on my calendar because I can't wait to call or write or Zoom or something at around that time with your mom and dad.
Yeah, and I'm going to be there. We play Northwestern the very next day back here in Maryland on January 23rd. But God willing, if he's still here, I'm going to be there for his 90th. And we had a great moment when I left at Christmas, and I told him I'd be back for his 90th, and he lit up and left me a note, that he'll still be here in 27 days. So definitely, it's something that we just continue. Every day is a blessing. It's a tremendous gift to be able to have the time that we had at Christmas. But it's impressive to be able to see just the will to live for your family.
When you've had as much success as you've had at Maryland, it seems like the national championship just happened yesterday, but it was in 2006. And you have been to many multiple Final Fours, and you have another Final Four caliber team. What I want to ask you before we launch into this year's team is no one gets to the point in their career that someone like you is at without facing some adversity. And there has been adversity along the way. Most great leaders have overcome something to be able to achieve what they can achieve. And bringing a team along with you requires a lot of energy and effort, but it requires incredible leadership. So, where along your path do you think you faced some sort of adversity that has boosted you to this point in your career?
Oh, I mean, I always say, like, every season there's a defining moment within your season that you can go back and recall what changed your path. And I think the thing I've probably have learned the most, I mean, obviously these last couple years, We've gone through COVID like everybody else. That has been an adjustment. We've gone through with transfer portal like everybody else, and you've had to adapt and adjust. And I think the biggest thing I learned from those lessons as a leader is you're going to be okay. Trust, your leadership, trust your confidence. Going, it's hard for me to believe this is, year 20 at Maryland. So it's the foundation's been built. So it's just continuing to trust your instincts that regardless of different things that get thrown your way this year, we've been hit with a lot of adversity with the injury of Diamond Miller and, adversity through COVID and more so this year than we did last year. And it's just understanding, okay, this year isn't going to be as smooth as it was a year ago. It's just going to take a little bit longer and just trusting that process that will be there in the end.
So you play probably the toughest non-conference schedule you've ever faced, and you weren't 100% in the non-conference. But as we get into conference play, you're starting to get more healthy and mainly getting Diamond back. Now we know Diamond is a huge piece of what you like to do because she's one of the best two-way players in the country. How does getting her back into form help your team right now? Because we're on the cusp of you getting ready to play on the road at Indiana.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, the timing probably couldn't have been any better when you talk about a return now. Although it's been, hard and long, I didn't anticipate putting a schedule together like this without her. You see the impact as soon as you're in one of our practices because of the fact that she can, she's one of our most elite level defenders as well as what she brings to the table on the offensive end. But I've said this, the best of the best, they elevate everybody around them. And so for Diamond having these practices to get back through finals and now coming back after Christmas, our team is, it's some of the best practices we've had all year and a direct correlation of her impact as well as, she just instills and exudes confidence in everybody else out on the floor with her.
I say this somewhat jokingly because I always say the same thing to you every season. I'm waiting for you to be the first team to average 100 points. Now I give you I'll give you a little slide on the non-conference because you weren't healthy. But now as we go into conference play, and I know conference play is tougher. I mean, it sounds like a ridiculous question because the game does shrink. Possession shrink, the court shrinks. It just gets harder in conference play because you're so familiar. But how cool would that be if you could average 90 in conference play, 95 in conference play? I mean, is that crazy?
You and I would love that. I love it. Offense, sharing the basketball, having 5 or 6 players in double figures. But, I think, when you play fast, when you play the right way, I mean, you're going to put yourself in positions to be successful. But then, the other team has a lot to do with it as well. If they're taking the air out of the ball and limiting your possessions, every game isn't going to flow the same way.
One of the things that you have evolved into as we've watched your team, we know that you see the game through an offensive lens, but you also have changed the way you've played defensively, which actually has given you a chance to have more possession so that you can play at that faster rate and score more because that's where your skill set is, right? How did you come about making the change to playing, more pressure defense and more three-quarter court and, just doing some things a little differently than just sitting back in a zone?
Yeah. I think, that's where you grow and evolve as a coach. I've always loved offense and being able to put the players in position to be successful. I think you have to be able to score the basketball, but on the other end of the floor, it's been fun just to kind of grow and learn your own style of what you like and what kind of fits, both ends of the floor for you. So I've really enjoyed that, whether it be, in the half court and the full court. And that's just, continuing to evolve. I think, as a coach, like you should never stop learning and growing. I mean, the minute you do that, your time has passed you by. And so I think that's the biggest thing is, every off season, I want to tweak something, whether it's been offensively, defensively, out of bounds, different things, just working to grow to improve and get better.
I get this asked of me a lot because I get a chance to work on the men's and the women's side. So a lot of times I'll have coaches ask me, like, who on the men's side do you like to watch? And I have a couple of guys that I think are, besides the obvious of, watching Tony Bennett's defense at Virginia or watching Villanova's offense with Jay Wright. Those are easy. But when you dive a little deeper, like who's sort of your go-to, Brenda? Like if you, without giving up your secrets, if you can, like who's somebody that you like to watch or that you might pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I love what you're doing. How can I implement that with my system?
Yeah. Obviously I think on the women's side, to have that mentorship has always been great. On the men's side, I mean, our defense came about with a conversation that I had with Chris Beard, through our Under Armour connection and our Under Armour family. So, without a doubt, when he was at Texas Tech and now at Texas, I mean, we're pulling up, his film and using it when we need to, in comparison to where we're at all the time. I mean, that's the first go-to that I love being able to watch. And then, you love watching successful teams. I mean, when Gonzaga's on, just a week ago, I was somewhere and was able to watch them, Mark Few and, Baylor and, being able to see, the different men's games when they're out there. And of course, Maryland, whenever our men's team is playing. But, I think anytime a game is on, you're trying to see what you can steal and what you can learn from whoever's on the television set when you have that time.
So most years, like this year, you're picked to win the Big Ten. And there's every once in a while, maybe you're picked second. Okay. So, every year you've got that target. And now that we're heading into January, how do you manage that level of confidence and that fine line with your kids where they don't get overinflated by the outside noise of expectation you're supposed to win and having your team dialed in so that you can execute and play the way you want to play?
Yeah. I mean, obviously the standard is always set for us where we want to play and what that level and what it looks like. So we control that day to day. And then I think we do a really good job of keeping us humble and grounded. So, if we feel like we're starting to feel ourselves, we're really going to humble ourselves through some film. And that could even be after a win. We'll be able to find those things. So I think it's just knowing where your team's at, whether they need to be built up or grounded, staying humble and hungry. But I think when your standard has kind of been set, your culture kind of feeds off of each other, with the direction you're headed.
The film don't lie. That is the truth, isn't it?
It does not.
You know what? I love that. I mean, I watch a lot of film myself because I think that's the best way to learn tendencies about teams. Now we have all these other resources now available to us, like Synergy and Her Hoop Stats, and on the men's side there's Ken Palm. So there's lots of analytical stuff out there. How much are you diving into the analytics to help make decisions about what you want to do versus using the analytics to validate what you're doing? Because I know you're very much a feel coach, like at the end of the game. You're not always in the analytics, but you have great feel for your team because of your relationships. Where's the balance there?
I definitely think by feel, but I also validate what I'm feeling through those analytics, if that makes sense. And I have a great support staff, my advanced scout, they're the ones that do the deep dive into all of that. And then really, collectively as a team, where we think, things can help us or hurt us, when we look into it. But at the end of the day, I've got to be able to coach, live, knowing where my gut and my instincts are for our team at that time.
Every year has a different sort of narrative to it, right? I mean, you have an identity and a culture. And sometimes I think that is an overused cliche in the game. Everyone talks about identity and culture, but you don't always know exactly what that means. For you, though, you have an identity and culture. We know Maryland basketball. We could put a stamp on it. We know exactly what it is. But when you're setting the narrative for the next year, and particularly with the narrative moving into conference play right now, what is the messaging to your team so that when your fans watch you play, they know that's us, that's it? What does it look like? What's that narrative?
I mean, I mean, we always say here when you're looking at us from a basketball end, I mean, it's defend, rebound, and run. So, when we're getting stops on the defensive end and being able to get all over the glass and being able to get out in our transition, that's when you see us at our highest level. And I think when you look at this year's team, really the last 2 years. The thing that separates this team is their assist to turnover ratio, their unselfishness. And so when you see us, like, the ball is moving, we're sharing it, we're really hard to guard on the offensive end. I mean, that's when we're playing some of our best basketball.
So I've been working on this concept across some of my prep. So I want to run it by you to see what you think about it. The assisted basket number to me is a big number. Like teams that have a really good assisted basket ratio, which means that you have an assist for baskets. And if your percentage is over 55, some teams are closer to 60, but over, I'd say 55 sounds like it's a pretty good number. I feel like there's a direct correlation between your assisted basket number and your offensive rebounding percentage, meaning that you're moving the ball, you're taking the shots, everybody's locked in, they know what shots are supposed to be taken. It allows you to get to the glass, and then you don't give up anything in transition defense. I mean, I'm not trying to be a professor or trying to recreate some sort of analytic here, but that's a deeper thought process that I'm looking at teams through that lens right now because I do care about offense and I care about the product, right? Our product being good.
Right.
What do
Right.
you think about that kind of conversation?
I have never thought of it in that way, but I love it. I think it makes sense. I think when you talk about a team and being on the same page together, I think there would have to be a direct correlation. So now you're making me aware for my own team, which I appreciate.
Well, I'm
Um,
going to take a deeper
Makes a lot of
dive
sense.
before I have because Beth Mowens and I have the ESPN2 game on January 2nd, which is Maryland at Indiana. So we're looking forward to it. So I'm going to take a little look at that and see if there's something there. And if it is, I'll put it out on the Twitter world so everybody can pay attention.
Can't
Because you
wait.
got, Indiana is very similar too. They are a tough, grinded out, gritty. They are very well prepared and coached. Terry Morin has done a fantastic job. You're starting out conference play basically with two top 10 teams in the league going at it. Um, that's not necessarily something new for you, but I mean, how exciting is that to take your team on the road in that environment and to be able to start off that way?
Yeah, it is, and I mean, I can't say enough about what Terry has built there at Indiana, and I love seeing it. I don't like going against it, but just what she has created is something pretty special. And with this team returning all five starters, so it's going to be a battle. I mean, this is why you love to play. I mean, I love where our league is at. We have three teams in the top 10 right now, and five in the top 25, and these are the kind of games. I mean, I'm glad we play home and away, right? We get to play each other on both each other's home court. I mean, these are two of the most experienced rosters out there. I mean, right after Christmas, and we can't wait to be able to get down there and play in this matchup.
So I want to ask you a question about the business of basketball because I know you have great vision. You think about it. I'm always thinking about it. Inside the Big Ten, you've got a lot of veteran coaches. You've got some great programs, and now it looks like the Big Ten office is starting to be a little bit more forward thinking about unifying and collecting your voice to make a bigger impact on the national stage. Um, where do you see your leadership inside the Big Ten and helping galvanize the coaches to move your league forward?
Yeah, I think I'll say this, and you mentioned it. There's so many talented women's basketball coaches in our league, and that have even been there a lot longer than I have. And I think what I love about where we're at and where the league is at is that we are unified and we're ready, to share our voice, with anything that really is important to us and that matters. And so, just seeing the league take the steps that we kind of felt like they needed to make, that they're doing. And I think just whenever you can have a unified front, and I think quite honestly, I think COVID probably brought us even closer. The amount of Zooms and the weekly calls that everyone had and what we were all going through was the same thing. We had to be very transparent. So I'm excited about what that looks like as we move forward, because we do have so many great experienced coaches that are excited to be able to lead and help any way possible for our sport.
So now I want to shift a little bit to mother of three boys, mother of two boys. Okay.
Yeah.
In our conversations in the past, I call it free balling at our house. Like, guys, when we get home, throw your clothes on the washing machine, free ball it to the showers, right? That would be when they were younger, obviously not now, but it's a different vibe, being the only woman in a house with a bunch of guys. And I just wanted to know, like, how's it work at your house? Like, how's it going with your teenage boys?
Um, well, it's funny you say that, the free balling part. Mine now, like, doors have to be closed. They're almost going to be 14, and so they can't see mom any kind of direction. So it's very private. But at the same point, I'm really lucky, because I feel like, last year through COVID, and then even now, our relationship is so strong. So they still like love hanging out with me if we can squeeze a movie in. We just went to Spider-Man, during over the holidays. They still want to be around me, when they want to squeeze me in around their friends. So it's still at an awesome age. I mean, I know some of that's going to change, but I do think it's healthy that our relationship has always been so strong, and just that connection.
There's nothing better. I mean, I always say two things I say all the time. I haven't slept since 1995, and the only thing better than three boys would have been four. But
I agree with you 100%.
so Brenda, your boys are active athletes. They play sports. When you go to the games and you go and watch your kids play, what kind of parent are you in the stands?
Um, I am always there just to support and be their biggest cheerleader. I always, when they leave for a practice, I'll tell them, be the most energetic player on the floor. Be coachable and be the most energetic. That's all I say to them when they leave. But it's crazy right now, I would say, like, just given schedules, because through this pandemic, and I got to see one football game of my son, and of course, as luck may have it, this year when I went, the second down he was injured and sprained his ankle. And then the first game I was going to get to see my husband coach both of my boys in middle school, then they shut down the school with the outbreak of COVID, as numbers going up. So this year has not been great, which, hopefully for the future will be a little bit better. But I always want to just, support. I know what it's like for the coaches going through, and ultimately it's got to be their love and their passion for the game, not mine, with whatever they want to do.
That's exactly the way I feel about it. I just ask them to have fun and work hard,
Yeah.
and please make good choices. That is pretty much and it gets back to, really, what you're asking of your kids is really no different than you're asking of your student athletes, your team, your players, is work hard, go to class, and be a good citizen. It doesn't seem to be that hard, does it?
No, absolutely. Sometimes it's these adults though that get in the way, right? It's just
Yeah.
you don't want to take away that spirit and that love and that passion for the game, and or whatever that may be, whatever your child is into, is just trying to foster that passion for them.
I've heard a lot of coaches talk about this in the past, and of course, we've been in the gym for so long. We've seen parents at both ends of the spectrum, right? So those like me that sit there quietly and say nothing, and then others that are, going crazy about put my kid in, shoot the ball, hey, yelling at the refs, whatever happens. I guess I want to know from you, like, how true is it when you go in a gym to recruit a kid that you are actually recruiting the parents and watching them as well?
Yeah, it's 100%. I mean, I can give you two incidences. My boys this year, we reversed it. They got their first jobs as teenagers and were soccer referees. and we're able to be on the other side of that and to listen to the stories from my husband. There was a situation with one of my sons that went on through the entire game with the parents yelling at him and the adult referee that was in there, and even all the way out to their cars, into the parking lot. And this was like 8 and under soccer, where these kids were like just starting the game through the parents. And it is, I mean, when you get to the college level and you can hand select, I mean, without a doubt, there's been instances where we will not recruit a kid based off of once you do the further dive of, this isn't a good fit for this kid to stay close to home because of the parent situation, or they're going to be a problem. And, between that, changing 3 or 4 high school AAU teams is absolutely a red flag. And I get it when there's, and you can explain them and talk through a change or, different things that happen. But when you start to see the red flags of 3 or 4, 5 AAU high school teams, it sends a red flag to the coaches that are recruiting.
I just want to tell you one incident had at a soccer event where my son was playing, and this was just a simple administrative thing that before certain tournaments, the soccer mom that was in charge would come around with a clipboard and they had a piece of paper that we were all supposed to sign as parents saying we would not yell at the referees during the game. And so I'm like, I refuse to sign that. I am insulted that I would even be asked to sign that piece of paper. So all the other parents are complying. And, of course, my husband's going, just sign it. And I'm like, no, I'm not signing it. Because I will be in control of my own emotions. I don't need to sign a petition saying I'm not going to yell at the ref. Of course, I'm not going to yell at the ref.
Right.
You know, so it's just where we are, I guess. Sometimes in society, I don't know. It's
It's
crazy. Sounds
sad that
crazy.
that's where we're at. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it was never like that growing up. You played for the love of
No,
the game.
no, you did. You played, and you play with your teammates, and you play with your teammates because those are your friends, and you moved from one sport to another. And sometimes you picked up some other teammates that maybe you didn't play basketball, that might have played softball or tennis or volleyball or whatever. But you were basically with a good group of kids that all wanted to play and have fun. That's the way I remember going through high school and through all my teammates. It was pure love of the game.
Yep, 100%. Couldn't agree more.
Okay, so no more X and O strategy, no more goofing around. Let's get right to it about your New Year's resolution. I hate this question. I hate when I get asked it, but I'm going to ask you, and then we're going to be done.
My New Year's resolution. I would say between my team and myself, just to stay healthy, and but to be quite honest, I haven't put a lot of thought into it until today when December 31st rolled around on the calendar. But I'm excited for 2022. It's going to be a great year.
Well, we're excited about you being a part of Nothing But Net, Brenda. Thank you so much for lending your time. A lot of people consider today to be a holiday and a non-working day, but I know that on December 31st, you're working and you're hard at it in your office getting ready to launch the Big Ten season. So we wish you well. And thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, you're so welcome. Always great to be with you, Debbie. Thank you.